As you may have noticed if you're a longtime fan of the show, is that we've played a lot of Contra games, and more specifically, a heck of a lot of Contra Hacks. So many, in fact, that we're able to make a top 10 list of Contra Hacks, as well as a top 10 worst Contra Hacks coming next week. This first video will showcase all the hard work that people put into these games, and earning their spots as one of the top 10 Contra Hacks. Now, as we say hacks, but just to clarify before we get bombarded in the comments section, this list will include ROM hacks, fan-made games, translations, and maybe even some pirated games. So sit back and enjoy the top 10 Contra Hacks. Number 11? As a quick bonus here, I feel the need to mention a group of games to take up number 11's spot. Since reproduction games are so commonplace now and popular, it's very easy to obtain a foreign game translated and play them on your native console. For us, living in the US, it would be a standard NTSC game. With that said, we've played many translated import games so far on this channel, such as Contra Hardcores from Japan, Contra Spirits from Japan, and the original Contra on Famicom for the NES. The one that stands out the most is the original Famicom version of Contra. With all the added cutscenes, opening story, new music, and super secret hidden ending, this game is worth checking out if you're a fan of Contra and want a few extras. There's even a bonus sound test and level select if the American Contra gives you too much of a hard time. But, onto the list. Number 10. Okay, to start the official top 10 list is yet another grouping of games. These games are all sprite hacks of Super C from the NES. In case you're unfamiliar with what a sprite hack is, it's basically just like it sounds. The original sprites of the game are removed and replaced with whatever goofy or creepy sprites the creator decides to put in there instead. There are 3 Super C hacks that we've played in this channel so far, which are Super C Hell Hack, which adds a ton of enemies, changes some colors, and also the character moves like really sped up. The second is called Super Fighter, which changes the look of most of the enemies and bosses, and also allows you to pick a weapon from the start and use it the whole game, even if you die. The third game, and my pick for number 10 on this list, is Super C Behind Enemy Lines. This game is the most extensive sprite swap, and was very fun to play. There seems to be skulls everywhere. Every level is completely redone, from the level itself, to the enemies, and to the bosses within those levels. The atmosphere was just dark and creepy, with all the demons and skeletons everywhere. One of our favorite was a sprite swap for Jagger Freud in level 6. Look at this guy. It's like a human form with sunglasses on. The stage boss in level 5 is now a flying UFO type of thing. And check out the final boss of the game. What'd they do to Kim Ko? Well, Super C was already a great game by itself, so it's fun to play the game again with different sprites to see all the crazy ideas they put into it. Number 9. Number 9 on this list is an interesting idea. This game is called Mountain Challenge. It's a single level game based on level 5 Snowfield from the original Contra on NES. The whole objective of this game is to get to the top as fast as you can and grab the trophy. Time is recorded, and when you get to the top, the game is over and it reveals your time. So essentially it's just a 2 or 3 minute game, racing to the top so you get the fastest time. The game has 2-player option at the title screen, just as the original Contra did, but does not appear to support 2 players. We tried it several times and the game just wouldn't start as 2 players. This isn't our problem though, as I feel Trax, the creator of the game, didn't really intend it to be 2 players. It would work much better as 1 player racing to the top. There appears to be no penalty for dying though, just a short respawn time. I managed to get my time down to just over 1 minute. It's a short, fun game. My only complaint is that every time you play the game, you have to wait and watch these credits or reset the game. Wish you could just push start and skip all the stuff to quickly play again. But if you want a quick Contra challenge that will take you less than 3 minutes, try it out. Let's see if you can beat my time of 1 minute 11. I doubt it. NumberEight. Coming at number 8, we have another quick game here for you. This game is called Super C: The Escape. It's an arcade style game with the sole purpose of surviving for 180 seconds and beating the boss. It's based off the Super C NES game, more specifically, the overhead levels. It's a single screen game played entirely on this one frame here. Enemies will come in all 4 sides of the screen, with green enemies just walking back and forth and a red one shooting at you. Eventually turrets will come also. It can get pretty hectic at times if the screen gets filled with these guys. Luckily, your character has 3 bombs to use during this gauntlet of a game, as well as some power-ups flying by and traditional Contra pods. Once you get the spread gun power-up, it makes the game much more easier and manageable. It's pretty much essential to beating this game. At around 5 seconds remaining, the boss will spawn. This is the boss from level 2 of Super C. All you gotta do is beat this guy and the game's over. There's a small story when the game is over, and also records your score. So if you haven't got much time and want to get a quick arcade Contra feel, I recommend this 3-minute Super C hack. Also, if you're having trouble with the game, there are a ton of cheats that will help you. Although the game is definitely beatable without these codes, they're here if you need them. NumberSeven. We've played a bunch of fan-made Contra games on here, and most of them tend to be pretty good. I would assume because the creator is probably a Contra fan and wants to make their game as best they can to respect the Contra series. One excellent game of that nature is called New Contra 2. This is a fan-made game by Riddell in 1996, using his own Dumani engine that I guess he created. Either way, this game looks and plays great. It's 2-player co-op and it's completely redone with some original graphics and some sprites used from other games. There are 8 unique levels in this game, with the last one, of course, being a traditional Contra alien level as the final stage. There's a number of weapons available, including the infamous spread, which in this game is seriously OP. I mean, look at that spread. There's like 50 bullets on the screen. Stage 2 is a really interesting concept. It basically combines the 3D level from Super C with the 3D level from regular Contra. It looks like Super C, but you also have to destroy the turrets and sensors like the original Contra. There's many familiar bosses in the game, such as bosses from other games, like level 4 here. This boss is definitely from Guardian Legend on NES, as well as the boss here in level 7 from Ninja Gaiden. There's also this wacky level here, which I think was taken from another game. So if anybody knows, leave in the comments below. The final boss of the game is a horizontal version of Jaggerfreud. Good graphics, fun weapons, and awesome gameplay. If you're a fan of Contra or side-scrolling action, do Riddell 1996 a favor and download this game. You won't be disappointed. NumberSix. Contra Legacy of a Red Falcon at first looks very similar to Contra 2. It's possible it's the same engine that Riddell 1996 used, but I'm not positive. But this time the game is much larger and involved than New Contra 2 was, including a new opening story and 12 levels. A password feature is also included here, in case you want to break and return to the game later. The only drawback is that it's single player only, but it's still cool, trust me. It retains much from Contra 3, including the bombs and the ability to hold 2 weapons and cycle between them. There are some interesting level ideas, such as this take on the base stage from the original Contra. You gotta destroy all the turrets and then a sensor in the middle. Creator also made an attempt to recreate the overhead level from Contra 3, which actually works kinda well. Heck, there's even a flying section based on level 1 from the original Contra. This game uses a lot of sprites and even cutscenes from other games. The game is fun, has a lot of unique ideas and gameplay styles. My only complaint is the ending. In most Contra games, you expect some alien final boss or some other huge creature. In this game, all you do is, well, shoot the guy out of a glass jar or tank. It's not that much of a climax to the game, but it's still worth a playthrough. NumberFive. Taking a quick break from fan-made games, the next entry on our list is a straight-up ROM hack of the original Contra. This is Contra the Zeng G hack, which was made in 2012 and supposedly an extremely difficult game. So difficult that you can give yourself 99 lives right from the title screen with no code. The game is, as its reputation suggests, very difficult. It's not the broken, annoying difficult that you might be seeing later next week in our worst hacks. This is very challenging and at least doable, except for the part in snowfields with these snow laser things. That's bullshit. Also in the energy zone, the part where you have to nudge through the wall. Alright, actually, how do you get this high on the list, babe? Who's writing this stuff? Well, I guess compared to the other bad ROM hacks, this one is slightly better quality. Just really difficult. So, if you want a serious Contra challenge, check out the Zeng G hack. NumberFour. Contra 3 is one of the best Contra games ever made. Probably the best, argued by many people. But what's I gotta do to hack list? Well, for some reason, I'm a real big fan of what's called a demake. It's like rather than a remake, which actually improves graphics and quality to a modern console, a demake goes back a generation or more and makes the game fit older graphical and technical limitations. So someone decided to make a pirate game of Contra 3 The Alien Wars, but to be played on the NES. That's right, Contra 3 on the NES. The fact that someone ported this game to the NES is hilarious and yet amazing to me. Just look at the opening scene here. There are limitations and sacrifices, of course, as in you can't hold two weapons and obviously the graphics, but they did manage to retain a two-player co-op, which is fun. For me, the best thing about these kinds of demakes is to see how they managed to make the bosses and things with limitations they faced. Check out the airplane here in level 1. Wow. They even managed to recreate level 4 with the motorcycles and flying missile part. A feat that not even the official Game Boy release attempted. Heck, even the overhead walking areas from Contra 3 are included here. The bodies here look a little disproportioned, and there's also no boss like in Contra 3. I mean, I guess the NES couldn't handle that Mode 7 awesomeness. There are also 6 stages like the Contra 3, with the last one being the alien layer. For some reason they skipped the hard boss, but they did recreate the 8-bit version of Super C boss's Kim Ko. They even managed to include the flying metallic boss here before the final boss of Jagger Freud. They even went as far as to include the brain fight of Jagger Freud, a little different but present nonetheless. If you're a Contra 3 fan, I highly recommend this game for the entertainment value alone, including the infamous Thend sequence. No, not the end. Thend. NumberThree. The next game on our list here is actually a really involved game. Contra Locked and Loaded is what they called it. It's a rather lengthy game with tons of stuff to offer. To start with, you can play as a number of characters including Jimbo, Brad Fang, Pro Protector, Sheena, Mad Dog, Lucia, and even an 8-bit sprite of Bahamut. The colors of each outfit can also be changed by pushing up. So, the game consists of what they call 3 missions, including an extra mission if you beat the game twice, and a boss rush if you beat the game 3 times. For one reason or another, we were under the impression that it's just a 3-level short game, as in each mission was just 1 level. Well, we're in for a surprise when we found out that each mission is a separate game, including up to 40 levels in just 1 mission. 40 Contra levels. Also, to add to the confusion, or extra content, depending on how you feel, is the idea of the branching paths, similar to Contra Hardcore's. Each level has multiple paths for you to choose from, which will lead an entirely different way and have new levels and new bosses. The graphics here are beautiful, and there's a ton of weapons including familiar Contra weapons, as well as some new ones the creator made. There's also a ton of bosses including old bosses with new attacks, and some completely original bosses as well. The gameplay is limitless with all the choice of characters, the branching paths, and all the missions available. There's roughly 10 hours or more of gameplay here if you decide to play it all as we did. It's a very fun game despite being difficult and lengthy. Each player can have up to 2 weapons and switch between them like in Contra 3. It also is a 3-hit life bar, which you're probably going to need. There are some really imaginative bosses and levels here, and you have hours of entertainment discovering all this game has to offer. Number 2. In 2016, a hacker known as Trax made an excellent hack of Contra called Contra Revenge of Red Falcon. This game has 8 levels just like the original Contra did on NES. Each one is heavily modified, adding completely new experience to the game. The game is difficult, and maybe at the time I was playing I was a little bit frustrated, but it's a great game that was well thought out and put together nicely. Each boss has something unique about it, making it a little bit more difficult than the original. The game defaults to giving you 8 starting lives, which as far as I know there's not any codes or cheats to get more lives. They're also limited continuous, just like the normal NES Contra. So essentially what this is, it's just a harder version of Contra for those of us seasoned Contra players that were looking for a little bit of extra challenge. This game is difficult, yes, but fair and challenging. It took me several playthroughs to get good at this game. Now we played it on a standard cartridge, so there's no save states or cheating. Finally, after several attempts, I managed to make it to the final boss of the game, which is the heart. I was out of continuous on my last life. The final boss isn't as ridiculous or crazy as I was expecting, but the heart itself just shoots out some shots with normal enemies running around at you. So I managed to kill the heart and complete the game on my final life and final continue. In all, this is probably the best Contra ROM hack there is. Number 1. So if I already admitted that the Red Falcon is the best ROM hack out there, then you might have already suspected that the number 1 spot is going to be going to a fan-made game. And that would be correct. Early into our Contra Hacks playthroughs, I found a game called Contra Spirit of War, which turned out to be an amazing game. Spirit of War is a PC game. Unfortunately, it's just one player, but we'll forgive that because of how much detail and love was put into this game. You can tell they were huge Contra fans and played numerous Contra games themselves, as well as a bunch of hacks and pirates also. This game has a total of 10 levels, each inspired by other Contra games. There is also a boss rush mode once you complete the initial game. 2 playable characters are Bill Reiser and Lance Bean. Brownie is unlocked after you complete the game on boss rush mode. So, as I mentioned, the game is heavily inspired by original Contra games, and leaves some Easter eggs and references in there that only the true hardcore Contra fans will understand. The first level is the jungle with the new helicopter boss, but level 2 is based off the bonus levels in the MSX version of Contra, with the magma theme as you progress to the left rather than the right. The third level is actually based on another hack which we'll see in our next video where you fly, playing a shoot 'em up style game rather than a run and gun. The missile level based off Contra 3 is also in here, with the boss being another boss from a different hack game. I mean, this game is full of other hacks put into this. They even include the overhead level based off the overhead sections from Contra 3, where the objective is to find and destroy all the pods until you fight the boss, who of course this time is from Contra Force, the NES game. Well, as you can see, before I give away too much of the game, It is one heck of a tribute to Contra fans and all previous Contra games, including obscure levels and enemies from rare Contra games, as well as retro music taken from other games and a fun final boss that I'll leave up to you guys to find. So thanks to the creators of Contra Spirit of War for giving us a great game to play and taking the #1 spot on our favorite top 10 Contra hacks and fan-made games. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you want to see the full video review of any of these games, click up here to the top right to watch our Contra playlist. If you want to see the video about the game in #1 spot, click down here to the bottom right. Thanks for watching and have a great day.